Hey techies, it's Dan with Two Guys Talk Tech, and with me as always is my sub-host.
Sub-host?
Assistant.
Assistant?
Yeah,
I need
guy
to
who brings
unionize.
you like coffee. Jacob.
I do not bring him his coffee.
Yeah, you do.
Throwing me under the bus. Nope.
So, it's Christmas time, and I thought we would have a little fun today. We'd do kind of a extra special episode here where we talk about the retro computers that we would like. We have, what would you say, over 100 computers in our collection easily?
Considering I spent the last couple of days organizing all of them.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we have a large volume of computers, but there's some that we don't have. So what we decided to do is we both made a list of the computers that we would like, but we have not talked about it whatsoever. So he has no idea what's on my list. I don't know what's on his. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes with this.
So Santa, if you're listening.
Right. Yeah, and, if anyone wants to donate computers, get in touch with us. If you want to support us on Patreon so we can buy some more of these, so we can do more videos, hey, we're really happy with that idea.
So I have no idea what you have on your list, and that's really fun. And
right.
You have no idea what I have on my list?
I have no idea, and I have a feeling that we're going to go a completely different direction, so...
I'm curious to see if we have any that match, though.
Yeah, I will actually be surprised if we do, but I think that, there's a good chance.
I think there's going to be at least one.
You think so?
I do.
All right, so why don't we get right into it?
All right, we got to decide who's going first.
It's going to be me. I've already decided.
What?
Again, sub-host, assistant.
Micaiah, edit it so I go first.
All right, so... the first computer that we don't have that I would like to have, an Apple III.
So it's funny. Apple III was the one that I was going to put on the list, but it ended up being number 8.
Wow.
So it got cut.
That's interesting.
And the reason it was cut was because Apple IIIs are known to be so problematic.
Absolutely.
That's the reason I'd put it lesser on the list. I think they're fascinating. It's a computer I very much want to learn more about.
Well, we have a lot of Apple IIs, and we've had a few of the power supplies explode on us, as you know from the first look video you did, and we've had one dropped, which
I have no idea who dropped it.
I did do a check on eBay, and there's quite a few that pop up from time to time. What concerns me is, a full system goes for a good amount, mm-hmm. but there's always like a caveat of, well, it might work.
Well, I guess the biggest problem with them is the RAM mm-hmm. goes bad.
But don't they have power supply issues too?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I've seen people with systems where over half the chips of RAM chips died. Wow. Now, my understanding is there are some Apple II models that have compatible chips, mm-hmm. so people harvest them out of those and put them in their Apple IIIs.
There is one that I almost bought. The only reason I didn't is the shipping cost was actually more than a unit, and I just kind of chickened out. So
that's fair.
That's my first one. What do you got?
So that is one. I would like to say with each one, are we likely to actually buy that for ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, if one comes along that's a good price.
So that one's a purely value-based one. If we can get one for a good deal, it's happening.
Right.
My first one is one that I've mentioned to you before is something I want in our collection. So this is one that you'd probably be able to guess. The Mattel Aquarius.
Interesting.
Not because I think it's a good computer. In fact, it's a pretty bad computer. But because we've already done videos and explored a lot with the Coleco Atom mm-hmm. and the Atari 8-bit line.
Right.
So the console companies, the big three of the second generation were Coleco, Atari, and Mattel.
Correct.
So we've done 2 of the 3 with their expeditions into computers. And Atari did really, really well, and Coleco did really, really bad, and Mattel's somewhere in the middle.
But I'm actually surprised that Coleco did so bad and Mattel so, because to me it seems like that would have been the logical progression from console to computer. Mm-hmm. It just, obviously didn't work out for some of those companies too well, but you would think that that would be.
It worked out for Atari. Atari did very well with the 8-bit line, and then the ST sold very well as well. So,
right. Okay, time for my next.
Yeah. Oh, and we're definitely at some point getting one of those because they're super cheap.
Yeah, we'll get one. All right. Our channel started as a Tandy specific channel, correct?
Yes.
So my next pick is any Trash 80, TRS 80. Sorry. We actually we have none.
No,
we don't have any TRS 80s. We don't have any color computers. None.
We have nothing before the original Tandy 1000.
Right. I would like a
Nothing
Model 2 because I think they look funky. I kind of like the look of the monitor and the disk drive and everything. I think they look very 70s computer.
Yes.
I like that. I'd also like a color computer because, when I used to work for Radio Shack years ago, we still had some inventory of them, even though they were, really old.
I have to say, like, in the early 80s, that I do think that would be a really, really good extreme budget computer.
Well, I mean, the original TRS 80s were not that cheap.
Right.
The color computer was, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have none. And I've done searching on eBay. There's a lot of TRS 80s in various states of repair. There's a lot of color computers. So, it's something that I'm sure we'll add at some time. Again, with the TRS 80s, just like with any of the older computers, you always are concerned with if they're going to, work or not. But
the big thing that would make me want to add one of those to our collection is the fact that we have had people ask us to cover them.
No, it's true. And again, we started off with Tandys, and it just amazes me that we never went in that part of Tandy history, but I think it's because, my time working with Radio Shack and such was always around the 1000s.
There's one great way to really incentivize us to buy a particular system is just asking us.
Right.
Because we're nothing if not crowd pleasers. We've had several times where people are like, hey, why haven't you covered this? And we're like, oh, we totally forgot that even existed. Let's go out and buy that.
Right. Okay, what's next on your list?
Next on my list is another very simple, obvious computer for me, and that's the VIC-20.
That's interesting. That was not even on my radar.
No.
And you're right.
When I was in high school, I briefly had one before getting rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where I did not do much with it. I think I only had the one game, right? But it was the possibility. It was just using an old computer at the time because, that was 30 years after the thing was relevant to anyone.
But as you know, like, my experience with Commodore is almost none.
Absolutely. You've basically never used a Commodore system.
No, and we have a C64 that we've, been testing a little bit. And I feel like I have no clue what I'm doing with it because I've never used them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting pick.
Mostly because I want to revisit what the little bit that I have gotten to do with it. Mm-hmm. Plus, I've been able, to emulate VIC-20 games.
Right.
And for an early 80s system, it's very much dwarfed by the 64. Mm-hmm. And it only came out a few years before. But realistically, if Commodore wasn't Commodore, they could have just kept the VIC-20 running for years. It was powerful enough.
Right.
But no, they wanted to keep innovating, and they released the 64, which promptly killed off sales of the VIC-20.
How did the VIC-20 store its software? Was that?
Usually on cartridge.
That's what I thought.
On ROM carts.
Right. Okay. All right, so I got an interesting one, and I'm guessing you would never guess this one. I would like a Grid Systems Compass 1101.
Is that their, watershed computer?
That's the one that went into space. And it's
That's cool.
Yeah. Grid was so ahead of their time with their laptops. They really kind of invented, in my opinion, a lot of what we take for granted with portable computing.
Right. People always point to, old systems like the Osbornes
Mm-hmm.
or the first Compaq as portables, right? Mm-hmm. But if you look at what Grid was actually doing, they never got the recognition. But
no, and it's interesting their history and how they ended up being a Tandy company at one point and kind of disappeared. But they still exist, which I did not know. They're still a UK-based company.
Hmm.
So, I did look on eBay, and there are a few grid compasses out there, not the 1101. Interesting if they're working, and they're known to be working, they're pretty expensive. If they're unknown to be working or definitely dead, I've seen them for as low as $20. And I'm like, $20, I would probably just pick one up just to have it for, just because, even though I know it's dead, because they're unique, and it's a part of computer history that I think is fascinating.
All right, my next one. Are you ready?
No, not really.
It's.
You sound too excited about this one, so I'm getting nervous.
I very much want a Hot Wheels PC, or a Barbie PC.
Now, we do have something in our collection that has a very similar case to them,
Right?
Which kind of threw you off because you were thinking maybe it was the same manufacturer, and then I'm pretty sure it's just an OEM that was going for that same style. I'm sure we'll do a video about it soon. When I owned my computer store, we bought a whole bunch of them. We called them the R2D2 because they kind of look like a
droid.
A droid, yeah. And I thought, oh, these will sell with the kids, and some people will think they're unique. Mm-hmm. I couldn't give them away.
No,
I could not give them away. And they had a cheap motherboard with a Celeron processor. They were just terrible computers. So, at some point, I hope we get a chance to pull that last one out and do a video on it.
It's so interesting because the Barbie and Hot Wheel branding is important to them. They're very stylized, but everything else is just as interesting. The fact that it was Patriot, I believe, who made them, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And they are one of the worst computers of all time. They're awful.
But you think about it, was that pre-iMac or post?
Post, I think. I think it was a year or two after. Okay, I want to say we're looking at like 88 or 89.
The iMac was later than that, wasn't it?
Or 90. I mixed my...
Yeah, I was going to say, it threw me off there.
Or 99.
See, because when the iMac came out, everyone was kind of like, oh, we got to do something unique. And E-Machines made one. Several other manufacturers made, odd-looking computers.
But for me, it's also important because that was the time frame where it became realistic to not just have a family computer, but to buy one specifically for
the kids. Right. Good
and
point.
That never happened before.
Because when I sold computers, it was an investment. It was something that you thought about this thing being for the whole family and for years.
Right.
And when you were a kid, computers were a commodity where you could sign up for AOL or MSN and get a free computer.
Right. I mean, I have many memories of sitting there and playing edutainment games on a computer.
Like NFL Math?
I did not play that, but...
I bring that up because we have a disc of that.
I was about to explain that because I'm like,
around.
No one's going to understand that
but us. Right.
We've got this CD case of NFL Math that keeps popping up in our office, and every time someone comes in who's new, they just see it sitting out there and go, oh, NFL Math.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever been used. No. I don't think it's ever been installed or anything. All right, you ready for the next?
Yes.
This is, let's see if you guess.
Hang on, I just realized, yes, that means I put a Hot Wheels PC on my list over the Apple III.
That's interesting, yes. Yeah, that is really a good point. All right, my next one, Atari ST. Specifically, the 520 or the 1040 were ones I'm interested in. We have several of the Atari older models. We have none of the STs.
The ST is interesting because it wasn't all that successful here.
Right.
If you go to Europe, it was quite successful, at least for the first couple years before the Amiga steamrolled it. Mm-hmm. But here, it was not a success.
Right.
Or at least not nearly as much of a success. I don't think I've ever seen an ST in person.
I'm sure I had in the past, but yeah. The 520 kind of looks like an Amiga 500, kind of that same body style. Mm-hmm. It just seems to me like that's something we should have in a collection, something to represent that.
Well,
that
you say that, but I mean, if we're going to go in, we might as well go big or go home. So what about getting an Atari Falcon? The successor to the ST that was a flop everywhere.
Again, if one presents itself that's obtainable, I'd love to have it. Even though we're running out of storage room, as you know,
Yes.
We'll keep growing that collection. I find it interesting. There's a lot of Atari 520 STs out there. The price range just seems to be all over the place. So, it's just a matter of looking for the right time.
Is it 520 or 512?
520 ST, I believe.
I thought it was 512 because that's like the RAM.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
All right, we'll have to look at that. All right, what do you got next?
Okay. All right. Officially, this is the last one I expect you to actually know what it is, for certain, on my list.
Okay.
20th anniversary Mac.
Oh, that's a good one. Although I'll tell you, it's a terrible computer.
No. It's not.
It is.
It was too expensive, but a lot of its design elements were very forward-thinking.
It was a unique design, but it was terrible.
But you can draw a direct line from that to the all-in-one iMacs that are the panels.
Which we have a whole bunch of, which I'm not a fan of.
Okay.
So you're not actually helping.
But a lot of people
argument.
are a fan of that.
Yes, because they like Apple products.
It's a really interesting design, and I really enjoy the color scheme of it.
The
it's
screen
got that,
was terrible on it, though.
Well, it was, 1997?
And what do they go for? I mean, it's a ridiculous amount
They're
now.
expensive.
Yeah. There was a listing on eBay about a year ago. This guy had a whole bunch of classic Macs. I mean, like a collection that a collector would dream for. And he was selling it in one lot. And I think it was like 20 grand he wanted for the whole thing.
Oh.
But it had pretty much every classic Mac that you could say that would be something I'd want.
Now I'm going, what was the shipping on that?
Well, it was out of Canada, too, and I think he was hoping for local pickup because it was, I mean, there had to be a good 12-plus computers in the lot.
I don't know. I've just been really intrigued by that particular system because it's rare for Apple to do smaller print run computers, for lack of a better word, special things like that anymore.
Okay, but how long did the G4 Cube last? It was a very short run.
Yes.
And I think it's actually a nice design.
Yes. And I think the same for the 20th anniversary Mac. I think it's interesting because so few people actually get to experience it because it didn't sell well. Because it cost $5 grand when it came out.
Well, okay, but it's Apple.
Yeah.
So.
But what's so cool about it is you can look at any part of the system, its dome where the actual components were, the integrated screen, and every single one of them you can point to a different computer that came out later from them. The screen looks like this. The dome kind of looks like the Sunflower G4, or is it G5?
I don't know.
Or, hey, it looks like the trash can iMac.
Oof.
It's a very forward-thinking computer.
I'm not a fan of the trash can iMac design-wise.
I think Apple's finally got their professional range to be worth it for people.
No. Are you talking about the current Mac Pro?
Yes.
The Cheese Grater 2?
Yes.
It's so ridiculously expensive.
I understand price-wise, but I'm just talking form factor. I'm saying, just give them a normal case. We're professionals, No,
I agree with that. It should look like a box because that's what we need in production and such. But man, is it expensive?
It is drastically overpriced, but it's for the professional market. Everything is.
Yeah. What is it if you fully deck it out? It's like 59 grand.
Hey guys, see this camera? See this camera that's recording us? How much did that cost?
I'm not talking about that.
We would be, for the price this camera, just our center camera, not the ones on the side, we could have bought a Lisa.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. All right, moving on. I can't stand when you actually make a point. It just ruins my day. My next one?
Yeah.
Amiga 500.
I've with every entry you said so far, I'm going, well, he's got to say the Amiga. Right.
Right. And I led up to it, too, because I went with the ST. And
I was waiting for it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Amiga 500 or the 1000, in which the 1000 came before the 500, I would like, I think I kind of gravitate to the 500 because it's got that same form factor as the Atari 520 ST, where it's slimline, kind of like the C64 but more modern looking.
Yeah, with the floppy disk drive on the side of the computer, they look classy.
Yeah. I did look, and there's several of them on eBay. Again, the price range fluctuates a lot. I did find a 1000 that had everything, monitor, everything. I really would like that. Obviously, we'll see where the bidding goes.
I find that so interesting because a friend of ours, Elliot, is an Amiga fanboy to an extreme degree. The number of times he's walked into our studio or just to hang out with us wearing Amiga branding clothing.
Ironically, he's a Mac guy, though.
Yes, he is a Mac guy.
But he does have a soft spot for the Amiga.
Right, and he's been talking to it. He's a retro computer guy, kind of. He was around back then, and he's even donated computers to us before. He donated his TI-99 to us, which was very cool. He's like, you guys gotta cover the Amiga. That's the one request.
Well, if anyone has one that they like to donate, again, we're more than open to take donations. There was the Amiga 3000T, I think it is, that I absolutely love the case. It looks like an old upright 386 beefy monster case, and I used to have a whole bunch of those in the 386 era, and I just really love the styling of that. I would, if one of those came available, it would be really hard for me not to buy it. Just aesthetically. It's
interesting to me because the more compact, all-in-one built-in keyboard systems were a lot more popular in Europe than here.
Right.
Because the Amiga didn't do too well with the standard consumer here. It was more for the professionals, your gen lockers and your publishers and all that.
Yep. So I used to know a video editor who used nothing but Amigas back then.
The Amiga, to a European, is that system that you play your games on that was, way ahead of the pack.
Right.
For us here, it more is in the same space as like the original Macintosh.
What operating system did it run? Do you remember?
Kickstart.
Yeah.
Its own
right.
Because the ST just used what, Gem?
Yeah.
We're not nearly familiar enough with either of those environments just because they're not what's talked about here.
Right. At some point I'm sure we'll have one of each and we'll get some more time to learn them. But again, with my computer history, I never was really into Commodore or Amiga. I was never into Atari, so a lot of it's a learning experience at this point.
Next on my list is kind of an odd choice, and it might be a tiny bit of a stretch.
Okay.
It is the Commodore CD TV, which I'm going to count because it is a computer, but it wasn't branded as one. It was branded as an all-in-one multimedia device.
Okay. I'm not even familiar with that one, so...
I told you we're at the start of those. So the CD TV, it was designed to look like a piece of AV equipment.
Okay.
And it was to sit in your living room under your TV. It had a CD drive on
What
it.
time frame are we talking?
I want to say like 88, 89.
So that was that kind of forward thinking because the whole idea of convergence of home entertainment and computers kind of came later. Like, you remember... You might remember this, the web TV.
Oh, yeah. Or the most successful one would be the Philips CDI.
Right.
But even that, it's funny because everyone thought that was where the money was going to be, but it just never really materialized.
I'm gonna point something out real quick because I think this is gonna be fun. We have another show called TGTM, Two Gents Talk Movies, our sister program. And the host of that happens to be in our studio right now. And he is notorious for hitting his mic. And you are sitting in the same chair he normally does. And
maybe it's a chair thing.
Maybe it is. But shout out to Jordan and Tyler. And you guys definitely should check out their show. We'll put a link down below.
Yeah. So the CD TV was one of the biggest flops. And it was one of the things that
Was it because it was too early, you think?
It was too early and too late. And too expensive, and marketed very poorly. And here's the biggest thing. It's just an Amiga 500.
Okay.
It's an Amiga 500 with the floppy drive switched out for a CD drive in an extremely snazzy case. It looks gorgeous.
So have you looked to see if any are available?
No, no.
It'd be interesting to see.
And I think they were European only, if I think about it, maybe.
Oh, well, then that doesn't count.
No.
So then you just completely went off the rails.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem was they were marketed as having nothing to do with Amiga.
Huh.
Right? You weren't allowed to have them even in the same aisle as an Amiga. So they tried to trick people into thinking it was something completely different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So since we're on the Commodore side of things, I'm going to give you my next pick and the story behind it. I would like a Commodore 128D. Or just 128, you know.
The D is the one without the integrated keyboard, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny story. So when I was much younger, there was a Sears store. For those of you who don't know, Sears was like a Walmart. I realize that some of you probably don't.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yes. And I was looking in their electronics section, and they had a Commodore 128 with a disk drive. And I saw the sign. It said maybe $399, $299, I can't remember. But it was, in that price range. And I went home and begged and pleaded for my mother to give me money to buy a computer.
Yeah?
Weeks go by of me begging, and finally she gives me the money. Big mistake. I go to the store, and I realize that price that I saw, the $299, I believe it was for the disk drive, not for the computer too. So as a reasonable young adult, teenager, what did I do with the money, you think? I spent it at the mall on whatever I felt like it.
Oh.
And then went home. And it was not a nice talk.
I bet.
So, had I actually looked at the sign and gotten my facts straight ahead of time, I might have ended up with a Commodore when I was young. And this whole discussion about how I know nothing about Commodores and have never used them may be totally different. And our channel may have started as a Commodore channel instead of, who knows, all because of that one moment in time.
What's funny is there's definitely an alternate reality where you were smart and you went, well, if I can't get this computer, I'll get something a little more budget friendly.
Right.
Or and
maybe
you'd probably end up with a Commodore 64.
Good point. All right, what's your next?
All right, my next one, I gotta make sure I get the model number right. Okay, it is the Dreamcom Series 10.
I have no idea what that is.
And I am going to preference this by saying this is the most stretch.
Okay.
Okay.
I've never even heard of it.
Because of when it was released. Because I will straight up admit right now it's not retro.
Okay.
Unless you count 11 to 12 years ago retro.
Well, it depends.
2008.
Yeah, that's kind of...
It's getting there, but not quite. Right?
Okay, so what is this thing?
It's a laptop.
Okay.
And the entire reason I want it is it has one of the coolest but stupidest features I've ever seen.
And that would be?
So you know how you have your laptop on the table and you're typing away hunched down?
Yes.
Right? They thought, what if not that? So it has an action feature where you set it down and you grab the top of the screen and pull up. And it has an extending arm.
Okay, but it's not retro.
No.
And...
Okay. When else am I going to have the chance to discuss it?
I don't know. All right. I'll give you that. Maybe we'll get one because that sounds pretty funky, and I would like to see that in action.
See, you guys at home will get to see, stock image of it or whatever here.
Yep.
He doesn't get to see it at all.
No, I have no idea. Well, I'll see it when the video comes out.
Yep.
All right, so it's my last one, right?
Yes.
All right, and you're going to love this one. My last pick is a Tandy 1000 RSX. Now.
You need to provide the history.
I have to.
Oh, that's so dumb.
We started out as a Tandy channel. We have pretty much every Tandy 1000 computer. There's a few odd ones out there, like Tandy did a thing with Walmart for a while. We don't have those weird models, but we pretty much have every Tandy 1000 except for the RSX. We have multiple RLXs.
We sure do. Well, we have 3 of them.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
Because yours truly, in a not paying attention moment, thought that someone listed an RSX and just bought it. And then said, oh, I just bought another RLX, not paying attention. And that I could get away with once and say, oh, that
Here we go.
Twice? Yeah, that's a problem.
You got a problem.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting, though, about that is all of our RLXs have subtle differences. Like one was upgraded, and then the stock ones, one's like the original and one's the B revision. So it kind of worked out well that there's 3 models that are all a little different.
But you still don't have an RSX.
No, and I've seen they come and go every once in a while. They're typically at about the $700 range to $700 to $1,000. There was one that was going for like $500 with the best offer, and cheap me put in a best offer like $450, thinking the guy would take it, and 2 seconds later someone else bought it. Learned my lesson there. But yeah, we have no Tandy 1000 RSX. If anyone has one that they'd love to get rid of, let us know. That would complete our Tandy 1000 collection.
Yes.
So that is my last one.
My last one's going to suck for you.
Okay.
Because
I'm nervous.
Again, it is a computer you've probably never heard of.
Okay.
And again, it is definitely something you want to look at, but it's not for a stupid action feature this time.
Oh, but the action feature sounds cool.
So this is from a realm of computers we have never dipped our toe into, which are Japanese-only computers.
Why did I know you'd go that route?
So those of you who are familiar with Japanese systems out there, you might be thinking, oh, he's probably going to talk about the NEC PC-88 or something. Because Japan
We actually have software for that.
Yes, we do.
We bought another item. I forget what it was.
The Rambo?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually got a piece of software that someone threw in the box that is for that NEC system.
So the NEC platform was really popular, as was MSX computers.
Okay.
The Microsoft standard. I'm not talking about either of those. I am talking about a competing system which did not do all that well until later revisions. Sharp's computers.
Interesting.
The later system, 68,000, is relatively popular as a gaming platform with some really good arcade conversions.
I'm really surprised, though, that you've taken the time to do your list.
Yes.
And this is your ending one?
Yeah, hang on. I'll get to that. So I don't actually want...
What again came off your list?
The Apple III. Okay, so the Sharp 6800 or 1000 should be the one I'm talking about. It's a very good platform for gaming. It's not. I'm going to talk about its prior revision that no one really likes because its hardware is just not up to stuff. The Sharp X1. And the reason I want it is because it is single-handedly the most gorgeous computer ever created.
Why?
I'll find you a picture.
They
get a picture, but...
No, you can just tell us.
No. It's first of all, it's like a reddish burgundy color.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
It's like late 80s styling to it.
Uh-huh.
It just looks classy.
You want to hear something cool? In the 90s, Nokia made monitors, and they were really good. It used to be that you could order them in any color you wanted. You could actually send them... Hold on. You can actually send them a swatch of what color you wanted, and they would produce the monitor in that color.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Wait, who did that?
Nokia.
Nokia.
So when I was in corporate sales and we would have clients that wanted to have the monitors, on display with their products, we would order them custom-made cases in the color they wanted. It was the most awesome thing.
That sounds great. Why don't we have that now?
Right.
I guess you had that with phones for a little while with Motorola. Like they were trying to do that where you could pick any color or whatever or texture or blah, blah, blah for your phone.
Right.
But that never really caught on. And, in the day and age of the internet, you'd think that would be more common. Like, I know you can do it with like an Xbox controller, but that's all I can think of.
Right.
Here you go.
Okay. Yeah, I want one. Find one.
Yeah. Seriously, the X1 looks amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a computer that looks that nice.
Well, one of our future episodes, we're going to talk about nice versus not nice looking computers. So, we'll have fun with that. All right. You want to outro us out?
Yeah. First of all, it's around Christmas time that this is going out. I don't know the exact date for putting this out. Depends on how lazy you are.
Oh, yeah. Well, our fabulous editor will get it out in time.
Please let us know what's on your retro computer Christmas list. Absolutely. We want to know. Maybe you'll bring up a system that both of us are like, what's that? And then...
Yeah, like Jacob just did a few of them.
Right, and then it goes to the top of the list.
Right.
And of course, the show's still growing. We need your help. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so. You don't want to miss our next episode. Also, it just helps us out in general. And liking this video, of course. All the YouTube-y stuff.
Yeah, all the YouTube-y stuff that you hear over and over.
And, of course, buying a bunch of retro computers is expensive. So you can help us out. How can they do that?
They can go to newsmakers.com/Patreon.
Support us on Patreon.
Every little bit helps.
We do have a Discord server as well. So please go on that Discord server and send us an image of really, really cool looking computers that we need to buy right now.
Yeah, it'd actually be fun if you do that, and then we can see if we actually know what they are.
Oh, yeah. Or don't, because we might go bankrupt from buying all that.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right, well, until next time, see ya.